Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the world of advanced standoff weapons with a focus on one of the most formidable, the Popeye Missile, Israel's long-range punch, its design, evolution, and implications in modern warfare. From the outset, the Popeye Missile family emerged to fulfill a critical need: allow an attacking aircraft to launch a precision strike at a target deep within hostile territory while staying safely out of range of most air defenses. Developed by Israeli arms maker Rafael Advanced Defense Systems in the early 1980s, the Popeye entered service in the Israeli Air Force by around 1986. Its lineage shows how Israel leveraged technology, evolving concepts of stand-off weapons into very capable platforms that shape strategic options. Technically speaking, the baseline Popeye uses a solid fuel rocket motor and is air-launched from combat aircraft. The guidance is a mix of inertial navigation for the mid-course phase, and either a TV or imaging infrared (IIR) seeker for the terminal phase. The missile family includes variants like Popeye I, Popeye II, also called have-light in export parlance, and importantly the so-called Popeye Turbo or submarine-launched cruise missile variant. The baseline version is reported to have a range of roughly 75 to 90 km for the early variants. But move to the turbo variant and the range becomes vastly greater. Estimates in open sources suggest over 200 kilometers, and speculative tests going up to 1,500 kilometers for the submarine-launched version. What makes the Popeye family especially interesting is the integration of guidance and datalink capability. In some variants, the launching aircraft, or a separate controlling platform, can track the missile via datalink in flight, allowing operator input during terminal phase, and thus enabling high precision against high-value targets. For instance, one source notes a reported circular error probable (CEP) of around 3 meters for some models. That means the missile is not just long-range, but also highly accurate, making it far more than a brute weapon. It is a surgical strike tool. From a tactical and strategic standpoint, the Popeye's existence changes many assumptions. First, standoff. Aircraft no longer need to penetrate deeply into enemy air defense zones to strike high-value fixed or semi-hardened targets. They can launch from outside the most dangerous zone and let the missile do the rest. Second, deterrence and surprise. With variants capable of very long ranges, the weapon alters adversary calculations about safe zones, how far away they must keep assets, how vulnerable their infrastructure may be. Third, escalation control. Precision. Long-range missiles provide a relatively controlled way of striking without committing large air task forces, reducing exposure, yet still getting strategic effect. In one case, for example, open sources reported that Israeli aircraft equipped with Popeye missiles carried out long-range strikes on military targets in Yemen, or at least to that effect, in December 2024, passing through friendly or neutral airspace and striking deep inside hostile territory. Of course, no weapon is without limitations. The baseline Popeye variants, while long-range for their era, are still subsonic and may be vulnerable to advanced air defense systems if launching aircraft are forced into predictable corridors. The turbo version, while impressive, is less well documented. Some analyses argue that with evolving missile defense systems, even long-range cruise missiles may face increased risk of interception. Also, launching standoff weapons remains a complex task. It requires the carrying aircraft to approach within range, and the missile to be integrated with the aircraft's systems and support infrastructure, datalink pods, targeting sensors, etc. In fact, early export efforts had cost and integration issues, e.g., Australia's difficulties integrating Popeye on the F-111. Let's step through its development in a bit more detail. The earliest Popeye, often designated Popeye I, was developed to equip Israeli strike aircraft in the 1980s. It weighed around 1,360 kilograms for the initial variant, carried a warhead of about 350 kilograms, used inertial guidance plus TV or IIR seeker, and had range of approximately 80 kilometers. Later, the Popeye II or have-light variant reduced weight to around 1,135 kilograms and was optimized for lighter fighters like the F-16. It had a shorter length and slightly reduced range, about 75 kilometers in some sources, but improved integration potential. Then the Crystal Maze variant emerged for export markets like India, a lighter version still, with an 80 kilograms warhead and range around 100 kilometers. The key leap comes with the Popeye turbo, jet-powered turbofan rather than solid rocket, extended fuselage, folding wings for cruise mode, and speculated submarine launch compatibility. Ranges reported between 200 to 350 km and perhaps up to 1,500 km in some clandestine tests. Because of this extended range and possible submarine launch capability, the Popeye turbo variant is sometimes linked to strategic deterrence, especially given that a submarine-launched cruise missile (SLCM) complicates an adversary's ability to detect launch platforms compared to aircraft. The open-source literature remains cautious about exact numbers, but the implication is clear. Israel sought a truly long-reach precision strike weapon to hold high-value, deep-lying targets at risk without exposing its strike aircraft to maximum danger. From operational usage, while much remains classified, there are credible indications that the missile has been used to strike hardened air defense installations and other strategic targets in neighboring theaters. For example, the 2024 report of strikes on Yemeni Houthi infrastructure mentions the Popeye missile among the weapons used by the Israeli Air Force in long-range raids. This usage underscores the principle: standoff precision weapons allow the defender less warning, reduce risk to launching forces, and hence shift the balance of power in strike missions. From a geopolitical angle, the existence of the Popeye family serves as a deterrent. Potential adversaries know that deep infrastructure or high-value assets cannot hide indefinitely, and this places pressure on their planning, dispersal, air defense posture, and risk calculus. The psychological effect amplifies the technical capability. In strategic terms, the missile contributes to what one might call an over-the-horizon threat environment. When a country can strike targets hundreds of kilometers away with precision, it forces adversaries to treat far-away assets as vulnerable. Let's also consider the challenges and future outlook. As air defense systems become more capable, networked radar, layered missile shield architecture, electronic warfare, decoys, the simple standoff missile paradigm may need adaptation. For example, higher speeds, lower signatures, variable flight paths, terrain masking, subsonic cruise, sea skimming become more important. Analysts have noted that the Popeye turbo, while impressive, is feeling its age and interceptability, in one recent commentary. In addition, integrating new sensors, data links, counter-jamming and increased autonomy are trend lines going forward. Another area is cost versus quantity. Long-range precision missiles are expensive, and once used, cannot be reused. Planning strike missions with high-value munitions requires judgment. Is the target of sufficient value to justify the expense? Also, adversaries will attempt to camouflage, harden, or move assets, thus requiring the striker to keep up with intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, ISR, and target reacquisition. The missile alone isn't enough. The system includes sensors, targeting data, platforms, and command and control. Also worth mentioning is export and proliferation. The Popeye family has been exported and/or co-produced with countries such as Turkey, India, Australia. For example, Turkey's Air Force license-produced Popeye 1/2 missiles under a joint venture with Rafael. This raises regional balances and the spread of long-range strike capability beyond Israel itself. So what are the key takeaways for someone wanting to understand the Popeye missile in a nutshell? 1. It is a precision, standoff, air-launched missile family developed by Israel, designed to allow strikes from safe distances with high accuracy. 2. The evolution of the family, from basic solid rocket short standoff variants to turbojet, cruise, and submarine-launched versions, shows the shift from theater strike to strategic strike. 3. The presence of such weapons changes adversary behavior, depth of asset placement, investment in air defense, risk management. 4. This doesn't mean invulnerability. The strike side must maintain intelligence, integration, logistics, and adapt to countermeasures. The defense side must evolve sensors, interception, disruption, and resilience. For content creators or viewers imagining a video review, you could begin by showing the missile family evolution, then dive into key specs: range, warhead, guidance, move into how it is deployed, air-launched, fighter aircraft compatibility, submarine possibility, then analyze real-world usage or credible reports, followed by strengths and limitations, and conclude with strategic implications for the region and beyond. In a deeper technical breakdown, you might highlight how inertial navigation combined with TVIIR seekers gives two-phase guidance. The missile flies pre-programmed to a designated area, then switches to terminal homing once within seeker range. Datalink permits operator correction or target selection in flight. Also highlight that warhead options include blast, fragmentation or penetrator types, meaning the missile can attack both soft and hardened targets. For the turbo version, jet engine allows cruise flight, longer range, possibly lower signature, and the implication of submarine launch adds sea-based surprise and second strike, deep strike capability. In terms of what drives development, the need to hit targets in defended airspace, to reduce risk to launch platforms, to maintain surprise and deterrence, to adapt to layered air defenses and long-range threats. The Popeye is one expression of that requirement. From a regional standpoint, Israel's security environment, surrounded by hostile states or non-state actors, requiring operational flexibility and reach, helped create that impetus. And because Rafael has export markets, the technology spreads, raising global implications for long-reach precision strike. Then focusing on the punch part, by giving aircraft standoff capability of dozens to hundreds of kilometers, the Popeye effectively increases the bubble in which the enemy must defend. A conventional strike aircraft that must roll in close, avoid radar detection, face SAM layers, possible air superiority fighters, is at high risk. With the Popeye, aircraft can launch from locations further away, reducing exposure. That means less need for complex escort, suppression of enemy air defense seat packages, less dependence on large support assets. The result is strike flexibility, quicker decision timelines, and deeper reach. From a value for money and strategic point of view, a well-placed missile might achieve what previously required many aircraft: extended mission planning, suppression of defenses, tanker support, etc. So it's force multiplier in the sense of allowing smaller numbers of assets to achieve high-value outcomes. At the same time, because technology like this exists, adversaries must invest more in integrated defense and disperse or harden their valuable assets, thus driving cost up for both sides. Let me also cover some hypothetical operational scenarios to illustrate its relevance. Imagine an adversary builds a high-value radar or command center deep inside territory, believing that distance protects them. A Popeye-equipped aircraft could launch from just outside the high-threat zone, use datalink to update in flight, then terminally home in with IIR-TV guidance, hitting with precision. The defender, expecting relative protection because of distance, might be surprised. Or consider a hardened bunkered facility. If the variant is the penetrator warhead version, the missile might be designed to defeat some level of fortification. Or imagine a submarine-launched variant. An adversary's fixed assets become vulnerable to a launch from sea with little prior warning, raising deterrence. On the flip side, defenders can adapt. They can build layered air defenses including longer-range SAMs, interceptors, active protection, decoys, electronic warfare to jam data links or seekers, and they can force potential attackers to spend more resources to suppress defenses, jam sensors, or maintain redundancy. They can harden assets physically, disperse them, camouflage, deploy decoys, use mobility. Indeed, the development of longer-range standoff weapons drives a constant cycle of offense-defense evolution. Looking ahead, some of the trends to watch include increased autonomy in missiles, less dependence on datalink or operator intervention, stealthier cruise profiles, low-altitude terrain following, stealth shaping, hypersonic or supersonic variants to defeat interception, modular warheads, networked sensors allowing multi-platform targeting updates mid-mission. The Popeye family is impressive as it stands, but the evolving environment means that what today is advanced may become baseline tomorrow. From a broader perspective, the Popeye story is a case study in how a mid-sized defense nation can build strategic strike capability through focused investment in weapons, guidance, integration, and export cooperation. It shows how missile design, platform integration, guidance systems, and operational doctrine all must come together. It also shows how weapons systems created for defense needs often become export products, influencing global balances. In summary, the Popeye Missile, Israel's long-range punch, represents a major capability in modern air-launched precision strike. It allows an attacker to threaten high-value targets from a distance, with high accuracy, thereby shifting the conventional risk calculus for strike missions. While not invincible or immune to defense countermeasures, it raises the bar for adversaries and forces new thinking about defense in depth, deterrence, and strike planning. For any video review, emphasize the technical evolution, the guidance integration, the operational implications, and the strategic context. Thank you for watching. If you found this explanation helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe for more deep dives into defense technology, and leave your comments below about what you think the next evolution in standoff missiles will be.